Thank you for doing the call. Forgive me, I had a three-parter. First, on the latest data that Dr. Wensley presented, are we seeing any impact of the current pace of vaccines in terms of the reduction of new cases or deaths, or when do you expect to see the impact of the vaccination program in the COVID in the COVID data in terms of the current cases? Second, on the genomic sequencing, how long will it take to get to that 25,000 sequencing per week? Is that something that you can turn on in just a couple of weeks, or is that going to take several months or even longer? And then finally, Jeff, if possible, can we get a status on the J&J vaccine? There's been a lot of confusion about how much Johnson & Johnson has ready to deploy, assuming they get the EUA. Anything along those lines would be very helpful.
Okay, Zeke, let's start with Dr. Walensky on the data question and the genomic sequencing.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Right now we have about 54 million Americans who have received 54 million shots that have been given. About 5% of Americans have been vaccinated twice. And so what I would say is we're not at the place where we believe that the current level of vaccination is what is driving down the current level of disease. We believe that much of the surge of disease happened related to the holidays, related to travel. And so we believe that now we're coming down from that. So I would articulate really loudly that if you're relying on our current level of vaccination, rather than the other mitigation efforts to get us to remain low, that we shouldn't rest in that comfort. We are scaling up vaccination as much as we can, but we are not at a level where we believe that the vaccination alone is what's driving the decrease in cases right now. In terms of sequencing, we are scaling up sequencing every day. When we will get to 25,000 depends on the resources that we have at our fingertips and how quickly we can mobilize our partners. I don't think this is going to be a light switch. I think it's going to be a dial.
Good. On Johnson & Johnson, I want to start by saying that Johnson & Johnson is at the FDA for evaluation right now for safety and efficacy. So it's critical that we let the FDA folks make this determination, which we anticipate will happen across the next couple of weeks. Depending on where they come out, we could have a third vaccine, which would obviously be good and welcome news. But at the same time, we are ensuring that both the two EUA-approved vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, are distributed equitably and fairly. And at the same time, we are planning for the possibility of the third vaccine. I think, Zeke, what you're referring to is the deal was done with Johnson & Johnson under the prior administration. And as across the last few weeks, we've learned that there is not a big inventory of Johnson & Johnson. There's a few million doses that we'll start with. The Johnson & Johnson contract commits Johnson & Johnson to deliver 100 million doses by the end of June. That is more back-end loaded. We're working with the company to do everything we can, assuming they are approved by the FDA, to bring forward many of those doses as possible into the earlier months. So I want to be clear that Johnson & Johnson has a 100 million commitment for the end of June of doses. At the same time, we're going to be starting with only a few million in inventory, and we're doing everything we can working with the company to accelerate their delivery schedule.